Hi, welcome to the next Facebook Live in our series of conversations around talks that John gives. And tonight we're talking about where do we belong and why do we belong? What gives us a sense of belonging? We usually identify how we belong or where we belong based on our families, based on the groups that we join. And talking of joining, hi Jacqueline, hi Caroline, nice of you to join me. We also belong based on the frequency of our energy, how we use it, what we do with it. In John's talk on belonging, he discusses what are the criteria that we use to determine how we belong, where we belong, if we belong. And he also talks about whether we belong to others, whether we allow others to belong to us. Because belonging is a two-way street. You know, for those of us who are trying very hard to walk a spiritual path, belonging is important. And for me, one of the things that differentiates between those that belong with us and those with whom we belong is our sense of service, our willingness to be available to the people around us for what they need, not necessarily for what we need. And I've found over the years that for me, what I need usually becomes apparent as I work with others in helping them to identify their needs. Belonging is so important, particularly in today's world when so many people don't feel a sense of belonging, and because of it, so many terrible things occur. Another aspect for me of belonging is the difference between whether we're grateful for the life that we live or whether we're thankful for the life that we live. And I've touched on gratitude and thankfulness in the past. When we're thankful, we come from a position of equality, a position that says, here I am and I have something to offer just as you have something to offer me. When we're grateful, for me, there's a sense of inequality. A sense that I'm not quite up to scratch, and so I have to be grateful for what is offered to me. And that can make a big difference to how we operate. In our conversation last month, Marianne asked afterwards on the comments page if I'd talk a little bit about spiritual service and whether we're entitled to charge a fee for working spiritually, and if so, how do we work out what it is? It's an interesting topic, and it's a topic that we could discuss for hours, but it's also a topic of belonging, as strange as it may seem. When we own who we are as a spiritual being, when we belong to the path that we came to walk, when we stand on that path in equality, we don't sacrifice. We don't give up who we are to serve other people so that they can flourish and we don't. That's not service, that's sacrifice. And in fact, it's often servitude. If you have something to offer another, there's an old saying, the labourer is worthy of his or her hire. If you have something to offer, whether that be spiritual, corporate, personal, it matters not. That service is something that helps to define your service to the world. Then you're entitled to be paid for it. Not only are you entitled to be paid for it, more importantly, if you're offering to someone else and they give you a fee in exchange, there's an exchange of energy. and there's the equality again. If you work spiritually for nothing, then that's almost gratitude. It's almost proving that you've got something to offer. It's almost apologizing. So I'll give you this. That doesn't mean that we can't offer freely to people. That's a different conversation. You know, when we belong to who we are and when we belong to our spiritual path, there are people that we will work with and for whom we will charge a fee for that service, and there'll be people that we're guided spiritually to serve without charging a fee. The key doesn't lie in what we think. The key lies in our guidance. If we're connected to our guidance, if we're paying attention to what we're being guided to do, then there isn't a question around, do we charge for our services? The question is, are we willing to serve? Are we willing to belong to a community of people who are willing to go out into the world and to offer the best of who we are, so that the world can become a place where belonging is not just important, it's at the heart of everything. When we're willing to stand in service, offer all that we can be, not in hope of good results, but in the knowledge that by offering all that we can be, we lift and shift mass consciousness, then we're truly in service. Tonight, as I'm talking to you, I've got people from Australia talking to me. I've got Maria from Prague. I've got Toshi from Japan. All of these people, Jacqueline, Caroline, Michelle also, all of these people are in service in one way or another. And all of these people belong, firstly, to themselves, and secondly, they belong to the path and the spiritual group that they support and which supports them. That's how we make a difference in the world. So what I'm going to suggest tonight is that when you consider where you belong, connect to your heart chakra. Breathe into the feeling in your heart chakra. And as you sit with your eyes closed in the silence and breathe, feel where you belong. You don't need to ask. You don't need to have a conversation with your guidance about it. Sit in your heart chakra and feel where you belong. And I'll virtually guarantee that you will know that you belong to all that is, that you are part of the source of all life, and that your sense of being and your sense of connection then enables you to offer a sense of belonging to others. For me, one of the kindest gifts we can offer each other is to be inclusive, is to invite people to belong on the same path, on the same journey, in the same group, in the same community. The JTB community is about inviting people to belong. And John's talks each month show us how we can do that, help us to learn more about ourselves in very deep and practical ways. So where do you belong? Where would you like to belong? And who would you like to offer your sense of belonging to, so that the world becomes a kinder, a more loving, and a more generous place? Thank you for joining me. And if you've got any questions or any comments, as always, please post them on the comments afterwards. Talk to you next time. Bye for now.